and they're gonna be like, yay, cool, I'm gonna try it once, and then it's done. I said, what are you doing? And that was literally kind of the way I phrased it. What are you doing to, like, I mean, you're in a culture, I told her, I call this the Disney culture. You know, I said, what are you doing to fight against that? Like, there has to be like a cultural change. And that's when she said, well, what do you think? I'm like, oh, I don't know. I'm asking you. And that's how this whole work literally, yeah, that's how this whole work literally started. And then Dr. Duckworth got involved, and we all kind of video chatted and Skype. And then they were like, okay, well, we have to try this. And how can we try this? And I'm like, well, I know a place where we can try it. It has all the elements you're talking about. But she's like, you know, we need to try this in a place where there's a lot of trust, but at the same time, there's enough control so that, you know, it can be done and it can be done right. We have to do it in a place where the adults have buy-in already on these concepts and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I know exactly where you can do it, so let's do it here. So that's how this whole thing happened. So for one thing, you know, we're going to go through the steps. We're going to have a video. This is the point where I want all the laptops closed. I want your phones closed. The only thing that should be on laptop-wise is the screen. All the other screens, literally all, I don't want those lights even on. So make sure it's off. Your phone is on vibrate, on silent. All right, again, for this to work, we have to really be doing that. And of course, that laptop that's recording. But everything else should be 100% completely focused, mentally present, nothing else distracting you. Again, as we go through this WOOP process, we are going to give you papers, and I'm going to give you guys clear instruction, but before we give those papers, select your own wish. I'm not going to dictate what that wish needs to be. And that you're thinking about, I am positive. I am positive that there's at least one behavior you can think of that you can change. There's at least one habit that you can think of that you need to change. All of us have something that we can. So please, and remember, this isn't just for negative things. You can use WOOP to achieve something that that you just want to do. It doesn't necessarily mean, oh, I want to lose weight. It doesn't always have to come from a place of negative. It could be something you want to get better at. You know, it could be something you want to get better at. So please remember that. That's why it says there, it's for people who feel stuck and don't know what to do. So you can use it for that. But it's also for people who say to share. When we do this exercise, it is yours. Because remember, this trust part is important. I want you to be vulnerable. I want you to literally think deep, do what is necessary for you, and think of a wish that really matters to you. All right? If you want in this process to move away from somebody, do that. It doesn't matter as long as you stay in this room. Whatever you can do, again, because we will not share. This is yours. This is your own. All right? This is a self-regulation. Now, your goal can be work-related, personal-related, health-related, relationship-related. Literally, in one of their studies, they did it to where the high school kids have a crush, and their goal was to actually reveal to their crush that they were crushing on them. All right? It can be as simple as that. That's why I said, and the people who did the WOOP, they actually did it, funnily enough. So again, I want that safe space. So we're not going to share. Nobody is going to share. Unless you want to share it with somebody, that is on you. All right, so I want to be very clear. Now, here are the 4 steps. All right, here are the 4 steps. It goes, what is your wish? What is the best outcome? What is your main inner obstacle? And make a plan. All right, so again, pick your most important wish or concern in whatever arena of life. Make it isn't like I'm going to be able to turn off the lights or something. Make sure it's challenging, but you can still reasonably fulfill within the month. So these conditions are important.
Complete it in a month.
Or at least progress towards in a month. All right, it doesn't have to be completed. That's also something. Has to be progressed towards in a month. Something that you can create an action to within the next 4 weeks. All right. Question?
No, and I don't know if it goes along with this, but I still believe studies show that it takes 21 days to change a habit.
Yeah, it still does. So that's why a month. Yeah. Yeah, 3 weeks. So again, one more time, I'm going to repeat that. Do not pick a wish that is easily fulfilled. Pick one that is challenging, but reasonably you can fulfill within the next 4 weeks. Then we will go through the outcome, and you're going to be guided by this by Dr. Oengen's video. She's going to pretend she's here. She recorded a video of her doing it somewhere else, and she's going to walk us through this. But before we go through there, I want to give you already some of the things. If your wish is fulfilled, where would that leave you? What would be the best, most positive outcome? How would flow? And this part is important. And for some people, this is going to be hard because you're a logic person and you don't like touchy-feely stuff. But this part is going to be important. For some people, it's going to be easier because you're a touchy-feely person. But you really need to ask yourself, how would fulfilling your wish make you feel? And you need to imagine that feeling. Again, in the video of Dave Levin, she made him like imagine it. And that was the part where you almost see him roll his eyes. Like, really? Right? Because for him, that's hard. So for some of you, that might be a problem. And that's okay. And then, inner obstacle. What is within you? And that holds back. It might be an emotion, irrational belief, or a bad habit. Think more deeply. What is it really? And then identify that and imagine it fully. For some of you, this might be easier because you're already a pessimist by nature. Like for me, that part was easy. I'm like, I can easily do that part. For some of you, this might be harder because you're more on the optimist spectrum of things. And you're like, what do you mean I have to? No, you need to imagine it. Like literally imagine that inner obstacle and almost feel it. In one of our conversations, when it comes to kids with trauma, it is very common for them to cry in this process. Like literally, extremely common. Because I was telling her, we're dealing with a lot of kids who have experienced trauma. Is this a good thing for them? It's like all studies indicate that it is, but do understand there is an emotional response. So some kids will literally say, especially if there's a lot of trust between the kid and the adult, some kids will literally cry and bawl their brains out and go to fetal position in this process. So understand that those things may be evoked right now, and that's why we're not going to share. That's why I said find a space. If you are that person who will cry, that's fine. Andy went through this process with her directly, and he literally described it. It's like Jedi mind trick. Because when he first started, you want to share a little bit how your first thoughts and what happened through the process, or you want me to share it?
We were in the room with probably about 60, 70 people, and she kind of gave a synopsis of watching the video and stuff and kind of what it is. Asked if anybody wanted to do it. Lady raised her hand, and she was a teacher from Ontario, Canada, and she was saying over the summer she wanted to spend quality time with her kids. And so she started talking to her, and she went through the process, and she was really calm, really no assumptions, no judgment. She's like, is that what you really want? It was so funny to watch. Is that what you really want? Is that what you heard saying? Is that your? And every time she asked her, she'd just stop and look at her. And the lady would look at her, and maybe it's this. And she went from, working down the list here, just a total different tangent. And within about, I would say 2 minutes, the lady was crying that, the reason that she wanted to have with kids was basically because she was being selfish with her time and didn't feel like her quality. It was just, I was like, man, that was amazing. But just through simple questions and being quiet, the lady was in tears. And then she was able to go up to that point. But this was a teacher. I mean, she'd been doing teaching for a while. And she got Jedi into this.
That's why this is like a scientific Jedi mind trick. So, and so again, the deeper, the better, all right? And then finally, making a plan, all right? On the make a plan, all right, what can you do to overcome your obstacle? Again, one action you can take or one thought. And you have to phrase it in the, if obstacle shows up, then I will, whatever that action or thought is. All right, so that's kind of how it is. So what we're going to do, all right, We're gonna go through one video and then we're gonna do the exercise. What we're gonna do is we're gonna give you papers. On those papers, we have one, so I can show everybody. Okay, pass one, grab one. There's a front and back. When we start the exercise, do the back part first. When Dr. Ungen's video shows up and you're doing it, do the back part first. And then we're gonna give you time to reflect. There are check questions in here. And then whatever you have in the back, you will fill out the front. And that's how the exercise will end. All right, but start off by doing everything in the back. The reason behind it is, in the process, you're gonna change things. So if you do it in the front, you won't have the flexibility to just all of a sudden, crap, now that I've been through the obstacle, it isn't actually like that. And it is natural for you at the beginning of this exercise to write something longer. You know, it's usually for most people, they'll write something longer. So make sure you start on the back blank page. Make sure you do the exercise in the blank.
Wait, why does he have 2 different papers and I don't?
He's on the back. You want
Yeah, you don't need that one. You want one
You
of
want
the
these ones. Like,
You want these ones?
Yeah.
we have those too. We have them, but
Yeah, those.
They were with the papers, Rob.
I just got mixed in. Because here's the rest of them.
Yeah, ignore the other papers. That's for the end of class. Sorry about that.
So we're doing the whole process that's on the front, just on the back.
Yeah, we're gonna start off in the back, and then you're gonna move it to the front at a time that we do the check questions. Alright. Are we good with the steps? You guys wanna just go into it?
Yeah.
Instead of watching another video about the steps, you guys just wanna go into it? Alright, and then we'll just...
Just do it. Let's get it over. Already done. Let's watch the video. Let's watch the video. It's okay. Stop it. I'll watch it.
Welcome, and thank you for being here. Are you ready to do a WOOP practice?
Yes.
WOOP stands for wish, outcome, obstacle, and plan. It is a mental imagery tool that everyone can use. It helps to find one's important wishes, to set priorities, to clear things up in one's daily life, and to fulfill one's wishes. Because WOOP is a mental imagery tool and involves thoughts and images, in order to do a WOOP practice, one should be really quiet and slow and uninterrupted. Also, before we go into WOOP, I would ask you to make yourself comfortable. This time is just for you. Everything else can wait. And you don't need to do a lot other than follow my guidance. Okay? Okay, let's start. I want you to think about the next 4 weeks. So, think about today, and then 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks. And I will ask you, what is your most important wish, which you would like to fulfill yourself in that time frame? What would be a wish that lies at your heart? A wish that you can fulfill yourself, but that is still a bit challenging. So you might come up with several wishes, but take the one that is most important, the one that really lies at your heart. A wish that you can attain, but it's challenging. What will it be? Look for it. What is it? You have it? Yeah? Okay, great. Summarize it in few words and note it in your mind. Okay? Everybody? Super. Now let's go on. I will ask you now, what would be the best thing, the best outcome, if you fulfill yourself that wish? How will you feel? What would be the best result or the best feeling? Look for it. What is it? How will you feel? You have it? Yes? Okay, great. Summarize it in few words, and again, put it in front of your mind. Okay? And now, imagine that best outcome. Let your mind go. Experience it in your mind. You can close the eyes if you want, and I will work it out once we're done. Imagine it. Imagine your best outcome. Slowly wake up, and then we will go on. Actually, what is it in you that holds you back from tackling your wish and experiencing that outcome? What is it in you that stops you? What is your main inner obstacle? Can be a feeling, an emotion, a bad habit, an irrational belief. What is it that stops you from fulfilling your wish and experiencing that outcome? Look for it. If you want, you can dig a little deeper. What is it really in you that stands in the way? You have it? Kind of? Kind of? Yeah? Yeah? All right. Frame it in a few words and put it in front of your mind. Okay? Alright, and now I will ask you to imagine that main inner obstacle occurring. Again, let your mind go and vividly imagine that obstacle occurring. And you can close your eyes again if you want, and I will wake you up. And slowly wake up again, and then we will go on. And now I will ask you, what can you do to overcome that obstacle? What action could you take? Or what thought could you think in order to surmount that obstacle? What could you do? One effective action. Or one effective thought. Think about it. What is it? You have it? Perfect. So, now we make an if-then plan in the form of if. Now you fill in the obstacle. Then I will. And now you fill in the action or the thought to surmount the obstacle. And once more. If obstacle, then I will. Action or thought. And once more, if obstacle, then I will. Action. Alright. That was all. So, WOOP is wish, outcome, imagine the outcome. Obstacle, imagine the obstacle. And if obstacle, then I will. Action to overcome obstacle. Plan. Wish, outcome, obstacle, plan. And you can use WOOP for any wish you have. For small wishes, and for big wishes. For short-term wishes, for long-term wishes. You can use WOOP when you're stressed or you feel kind of uneasy. It will help you clarify your everyday life. So WOOP every day. It will help you in your everyday life and over long-term development. But be patient. Be patient. Not every wish will be fulfilled, but you will get engaged in your work, in your family life, in nature, in your relationships, in a different way. And the more you WOOP, the more you practice WOOP, the more expert you will get. So familiarize yourself with WOOP. Play with it. Then help you to discover what you really want. And what is it that keeps you from going for what you really want? And it will help you to get engaged and tackle the wishes you have.
Now that we went through that, what I want you to do is look at what you wrote. If you wrote something, hopefully you did, and then go through this checklist. So on the first part, on the what is your wish, just make sure it's dear to you, feasible, challenging, and then you summarize it in 3 to 6 words. And what you do now is move that into the front page and actually write your wish in 3 to 6 words on the wish part. And make sure you do the exercise like with you.
Whoa.
There we go. Alright. And then move the wish, and then do the same. Well, let's just all do it together. Those are the check questions. Put your pencils or pens up when you're done writing your wish on the front page. Still waiting on a few people. And it's okay, we're not rushing you. Take your time.
You say for the front?
Yeah, put it in the front. So check the wish part and then put that in the front. These are the check questions you need to ask. I think everybody's done with the wish, so now let's go with that outcome. So here are the check questions for the outcome. Alright, so there's 4 ones. There's, is it a fulfilling outcome? Did you summarize it in 3 to 6 words? Did you take enough time to imagine this best outcome? If you didn't do it during the video, then make sure you do that right now. Imagine it fully. And then when you're done, write your 3 to 6 words best outcome in the front as well.
And your outcome has to be like for yourself.
Yes. Alright, I think everyone's done with the outcome. For now, let's do the inner obstacle. And here are the check questions for the inner obstacles. And when you are done with those check questions, write down the inner obstacle in the front as well. And there's a very important question here. Is it a true inner obstacle or just an excuse? So you have to really think about that obstacle and think about it deeply. And you're not just making an excuse, but is that really the obstacle? And if you already imagined it and did it, and you already have the 3 to 6 words, put it in the front page. once you're done, raise your pencils or pen again. And again, you don't want to rush through this, so take your time. That's one of the first things that she really emphasized, is make sure you take your time, and it's a slow, quiet process. When you're done, just raise your pencil so I know we can move on. And so finally, go back to the plan, and here are the check questions in the plan. Did you find an effective action or thought to overcome your obstacle? And again, it's about summarizing it in 3 to 6 words, and make sure that, and the front paper already does it, that you can put it in an if. Yeah, you can literally frame those words into that if, then I will. Alright, so look at your plan again, whatever it is you wrote in the back, look at that plan again, and now note that action or thought in 3 to 6 words and fill in the blanks in the front page.
So, plan is the action to overcome
Yes.
the obstacle.
Yeah. That's why you have to be able to frame it in an if, whatever obstacle you wrote, then I will, whatever that plan is. It's okay, take your time. That's, yeah. So go ahead and go ahead and write it down. And like I said, in this process, you may realize that your wish is not actionable, so you can change your wish. Totally fine. You're gonna have to go through the process again. Did everybody finish their plan? Now, some of you are still writing, that's fine. You obviously keep that paper. You know, that's yours. Again, you don't have to share it with anybody. If you want to share it with someone, do so. One of the things that she says is that when we start doing this with kids, we should never use this as an accountability tool. So we should never like get this and then tell kids, remember your WOOP from 4 weeks ago? All right, we cannot do that because that will destroy the whole trust. You can use it to remind them. You can use it as something that they can look and review, but it's not intended to be an accountability tool unless they want to do it for themselves. And he said that that's important because of the trust part. So we'll go with Rima.
Can you prompt them to look at their WOOP?
You can absolutely prompt them to look at their WOOP. That's why they have an app. So they actually have an app because for some people they need to be prompted. But again, it's not intended.
If they're having issues,
Yeah.
like if they're having issues with like an issue that's related to their wish, you're like, well, so let's take a look back at our WOOP. What did we say that we were going to do?
Yeah.
And should we be eliminating that last part of like what did you say you were going to do? And
Yeah.
so let's just take
Let's just take a look. Yeah. Because again, that whole trust piece. is important. Yeah.
Well, my question was kind of along those lines of like, you're bringing up teaching, how is that not deciding accountability, you know?
So, and that's why, again, that's if you want. Her suggestion is literally use a different, completely different mechanism, like our coaching or motivational interviewing. But, you know, if the kid wants to bring up the WOOP and to them, then that's great. You know, they can use it, you can use it like that. But for the most part, you shouldn't use this as an accountability tool, because then it loses the whole trust and the process doesn't become automatic. And the idea is to make the process automatic. Go with Hans and Heather.
When I was doing all this, it made me think about something that I've been doing over the past couple of years of cognitive behavioral therapy, which, for if you don't know, in general, it's like, essentially it's like about self-recognition of how your emotions and your behaviors are related and how you have like an ability to be aware of that and to control it to a certain degree or work on controlling it. And I think that's what I've been thinking about when we do this, because it's a lot of that. And I think it's a really good opportunity also to be intentional about using WOOP as a tool to get kids to reflect about. So many kids are like have these responses, but they don't ever feel like in control of like when I feel angry, that this is what happens or whatever. But like recognizing like what is it that makes you feel angry, or why, what is that trigger? And I think this is like a huge tool to be able to like get kids to recognize like why when I feel that way was like what both like what is going on about like the reflecting part. I think is that part of like what does that make me feel when this is happening? How do I feel? But also then when you can recognize that like I can feel certain ways, you also then have control over like your actions, and you that's very empowering.
Yeah.
And I've been doing it like personally and just like waking up and like knowing like when I wake up, if I have a negative attitude, like that manifests itself into like negative things later on during the day, and working at like intentionally redirecting those negative or like something that I'm like fixated on and being like, can I control that right now, or can I do something about that right now? And if not, then I need to like I have to figure out a way to cope with it. And if I can't do something about it, then I make a plan about this is my action to resolve this conflict so it doesn't like ruin the rest of my day.
And that's a really good point, because in character lab studies, they actually use WOOP as a self-management, self-control tool, because for the most part, what they've discovered is it's that whole reflective piece and that whole slow, intentional reflection that actually really helps with the self-regulation and self-control piece. So for Character Lab, they actually have WOOP under the character trait of self-control. This is a tool to use self-control, because for the most part, especially in our fast-paced culture, people no longer take time to think. Like they just kind of rush through things, and so they react on everything, and that's actually how, you know, your self-control declines and it keeps declining, because you're just rushing through things. Using the process of WOOP, it forces people to actually really take time to think about their actions and reflect. So, very good point. Heather?
Once really implement this, will they have just one WOOP, or would they have like a jiu-jitsu related or a dance related or a personal?
Ideally, the way we want to get to a point, and this is something that she even says at the end of the video, is to get them to WOOP every day. To almost like think even of something on a daily, like something that day that they can do and change, and they can do that. And then have moments where they're whooping big goals, and they're whooping more specific to jiu-jitsu, academics, and stuff like that. That framework, we're not sure yet exactly how we're gonna do it. We're gonna shape that together in a sense. And that's why she needs to come down here, because partly too, it's hard to have those conversations on Skype, because there's just so many things that you miss. But yeah, eventually, like I said, we want, and even for us to make this effective, we want this to be almost our way, like it becomes a habit to us to just, okay, I'm stressed out right now, and this is what's happening. I'm gonna reflect. I'm gonna take 10, 15 minutes of my time to really think, why am I stressed out? What is my wish right now? Because again, it goes back, if you guys remember our escalation training, why do people escalate? There is an unfulfilled wish, an unfulfilled need, or they want to do something, but they're being asked to stop it. So usually, again, it really goes back to this. Okay, then let's reflect what that unfulfilled wish is. Let's think of why we want that wish, what our best outcome is. Let's think of why we can't do that wish, and what would be the plan. So we're not quite sure how we're gonna get there, but that's ideally where we want to get to. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Other questions? No other questions? All right. Here are some frequently asked questions. That's also good for you. When you first start this, what if I have several important wishes? When you're just starting, like I said, eventually you want to get to a point where you're doing this daily and constantly, but you want to start with something that's really important, and just one. You want to start with one. All right, and then what if I do not know what time frame I should use? All right, so it says here that you should use the time frame that seems most applicable to your wish. They do encourage you to use shorter time frames at the beginning. That's why she said 4 weeks. Because shorter time frames allows you to whoop wishes that improve your daily life. So it's almost this certain idea that if this works, because it's a 4-week time period, then you're more likely to use it again, because you actually saw that it worked. So in the beginning, they encourage you to do something that you can achieve within a month. Something pretty short term. And then once you know that it will work, then you have more buy-in to the process, then you can do it for even longer time frames. What if my wish is too big? Often it's the biggest wishes that arouse the most passion in us. If a wish is too big, see if you can break it down into several smaller wishes. So there's that idea too. If it's a really gigantic wish, hopefully on your first whoop with what you just did, you didn't go for something super grand right away, and you follow the instruction of something that you can achieve in 4 weeks. But should you have done a super grand wish, break it down and then do it one at a time. All right. Now, as you get better with WOOP, it becomes natural. It doesn't really matter how big the wish anymore is, because you can actually literally keep track of it and do it. What if I feel the wish doesn't feel authentic? So I don't know. I'll share mine. For mine, I'll not share the exact wish, but what I ended up at the end of this is that I'm not actually going to do my wish. Like, that was my conclusion, because it did not feel authentic. Like, as I was going through it, why did I really want to do this? And after a while, I realized there is no intrinsic value to me why I want to do this. In fact, the obstacles are way bigger than what I really have. And so it actually tells you to listen to that. WOOP works best for wishes that really matter to you. So if you whoop a wish that you don't really care about, but others may have pushed on you, and this is very important, the process can help you uncover this. So sometimes, you'll have, one of the examples she gave me is, they had a kid who was so bent on going to college. They did the WOOP, and the kid literally realized that the degree he was going into had nothing to do with him. And it was just something that was pushed on him. And so by the end of the WOOP session, kind of became, apparent that he needs to change, his actions and stuff like that, because this was just pushed on him. So that's important. You can find out how much you truly care about a wish by identifying and then imagining the best outcome. So the imagery part, again, we emphasize that over and over again. The imagining part is super important. For some of us, we may have had difficulty doing that because the video is distracting. There's too many people in the room. Or honestly, for some of us, we find that piece stupid. There are some of us that's like have a hard time doing that. Reflection is hard for some of us because we're just, we're just not that way. But that is the very, very crucial part of this. So take the time to imagine the best outcome, and if it doesn't feel authentic, think about discarding it and embracing a new wish. So again, it goes back to what I say. If by WOOP you realize something's wrong, change the wish. Right? And that's totally okay. And then finally, this is probably the most commonly asked question. What if I don't control the obstacle? What if the obstacle is environmental? And we discuss that. And again, it explains this. You want something that is internal. You really want to find your response to that external obstacle. All right, what we can change is how we respond and deal with our environment. And then here it is, like if you have trouble identifying an obstacle that feels surmountable, take the obstacle you have thought of and see if you can break it down into several smaller, more surmountable obstacles. So again, that's also important that the obstacle is intrinsic and not just something environmental. So there is a WOOP kit. You can download it. Again, if you go to WOOP My Life, you can download it. They'll send it to you in an email. And so if you want that, you can definitely do that. And then they even have an app. I'm going to tell you right now, I've used the app. It's not that great. That's my personal opinion. Yeah, they have an app. Yeah, and they have it in different languages. And the book is in different languages. And she actually questioned how well the translation is. That was pretty funny when we were talking to her. She said, I'm not really sure how well it's translated. Because a lot of languages and nuances are lost. Like, how do you translate positive thinking in Japanese is completely different from the way, from the way our words are. So there is that. Finally, so like I said, you can download the app. It's both on Apple and Android. So you can do that. You can buy the book if you want. That's also on the website. If you want to share your story, positive or negative, you can definitely do that there too. You can share your story regardless whether it's positive or negative. And then if you're really interested in the science, I love, this is probably the most explored page for me. It's the whole science piece. And literally in the science piece, they outline all the different studies. They have videos. If you're not a reader, you just don't like reading and you want a quick synopsis, then go ahead and just play the video. It has a lot of good information in it. And then the rest is for those of you that are readers. Oops, sorry, I didn't play that. For those of you that are readers, they'll refer all the publications that's in there. The one that I really like is the one, not just because Dr. Duckworth in it, but it's more adapted to our work. It's the one that talks about self-regulation strategies to improve self-discipline in adolescents. For those of you that were in our Intro to SEL Part 2, when I talked about the self-control strategies, a lot of that came from this particular study. So that one's really good, and I like that one. Then the other ones are good too, but again, you guys can go through that and do that. I think that's pretty much it. What we're gonna do now is there is some feedback forms that are gonna be spread out. You don't need to put your name on it. Just put it. We are gonna collect this and we are gonna send it to them. So please.
3 pages. So they're staggeredly.
Yeah.
So grab both pages. Once you're done, you can give them to me. Try to keep them together so I can scan them and run with that.
Yeah.
So just do.
What? That's a good question. I don't know. Email me that question. I'll ask you. Like email it to me right now.
My devices are off.
Turn it on.
The 2
Email it.
pages are together, so all you gotta do is take one off the top. It's the page. No, don't take any more. Just take the 2 that are together. You got 2 right there, right, Cheryl?
No, now she does.
No.
Right?
Well, it's two, right? Is that what you said?
Yeah, those, right, there you go. That's the feedback for the website?
Yeah, it's for the website and what you guys experienced in general.
WOOP,
guys,
Really, I mean, because there's some questions on here that we didn't really even get into. I'm just saying for better feedback, or
you know what, that's not a bad idea, so if you guys, but what we do need is we need these feedbacks, so
yeah.
if you guys